Good afternoon, everyone. How are we doing? Gary Pfeiffer. It's breakfast me, he says, whatever that means. Never not so clever at this is, ooh, this couldn't be better timed. Great, that's what we want to hear. That is what we want to hear. So we're all coming through okay. Live is good. Might just take the saturation down a bit. There we go. That's better. Alright, so as you can see here today, we are painting this hospital bed. And this is going to be quite a detailed frame, so I don't know how detailed we're going to go today, but we'll see. So first things first, let's copy the layer. Duplicate that. Just call that L1, L2. So what I want to do with this is cut out the background. Actually, yeah, so I can do this. I want to straighten this picture up. You can see it's all squiffy. That's better. Simple as that. It's 7 in the morning here, says Gary. Ah, there we go. That's why he said it's breakfast me. Now you have to excuse my voice, I have got a little bit of a cold. Don't worry, it's not COVID-19 or anything like that. It's just a little bit of a blocked nose. Nothing untoward. Okay, so now what we're going to do is actually, like what we do with the forests, I'm going to cut out the layer. Shot in the dark. Did you draw this out during your wife's delivery? Says never not so clever at this. No. This isn't a accurate representation of the room that my daughter was born in. No, there's I looked at pictures of actual hospital beds and then just sort of made one of my own. So what we're going to do here, I'll see if I can bring it up. I just want to see if I can show you guys where this room is located in the series. If I can bring up, I hope I still have the file at hand. Actually, I don't know if I do. Captured the essence really well. Thank you. What's this one? No, it's not that. See, I have a problem because in the first folder of things for episode 1, I didn't name them all correctly, so they're really messy. So trying to find actual files is a little bit harder to do with episode 1. Let me see if I could just find the frame. Here we go. So I've got the frame up here, the actual video version of the frame. So this frame here from episode 1, when the door opens. So we're looking into Rose's room here, which has got the, she's got the leopard seal hybrid. She's playing piano. It's this room here. So this room off to the side here is this room where she stays. This isn't like her bed. Her actual bed is off to the left. But she has her own like bed here. So just to give you guys some context for where this room takes place, it's over there. It's because Rose is an old lady. She's a feeble old little lady. So she has this room where it's like kind of more medicinal purposes. Now the thing I really do want to get in this room right is the lighting. Like I want this to have a certain lighting aspect to it. I'll see if I can get to that within the 3 hours I have to live stream today. Because as you guys know, I'm doing these live streams now every Tuesday, 12 till 3. We'll see how much we get done. I mean, if I complete this frame, I've got loads of other frames, backgrounds to do. So I did over the weekend, I did a massive bunch of watercolor paintings. Did it in a bundle, getting a lot of the backgrounds done in bulk. So then when I come to do these live streams, I have enough stuff to do. Now I am facing a bit of a dilemma with the choice of backgrounds and stuff that I'm doing on these live streams, because there's something in episode 4 that I've wanted to keep secret since the beginning, and I don't know if it's going to be very difficult for me to live stream. Hello Shinobi, how are you doing? It's good to see you here. Titan of Serpents says hey. Yeah, so I'm like debating whether or not I should live stream painting these certain backgrounds, because there's a great swath of episode 4 takes place in this one location, so I'm going to be painting a lot of backgrounds and stuff for that, and I'm like, I kind of want to keep all that a secret, but then at the same time it's like I don't want to not upload videos and not do live streams for you guys. So I don't know if when I'm doing those backgrounds, if I should just maybe live stream something else in the interim and then do those off camera. But then again, I do get a lot done in these live streams, so I'm like, I don't know if I should. Maybe I should just not worry about it, because the people who come to these live streams, you know, it's not everyone who watches the series. So still loads of people can be surprised by it. Gary Pfeiffer says, so the seal Panasaurus hybrid likes Rose's piano music. What do you guys think will happen to her, if not munching down on the Megaraptor? Never Not So Clever this says, just stream with a giant blur block on the screen, it'll be fine. Do you know what, that might actually be that might actually be a good idea. I'm sorry guys, you can't see what I'm painting, but I'm live streaming. There is other things I can do for the series. I can paint characters and stuff into frames. But that is I said this from the beginning when I was doing the live streams way early on with episode 1. I remember saying things like, oh, when I get to certain episodes in the future, it's going to be much harder to live stream because of the amount of spoilers that are happening, like even with just backgrounds. And we're now at that point where I'm like, okay, I don't want to like reveal too much, but at the same time I don't want to like not make content for this channel. So it's a balance. It's all about finding that balance. Yeah, yeah, Titan of Seb says, you truly are clever, never not so clever at this. So yeah, we'll work it out. I'll work out something. We'll work out something. But for today, yeah, we're doing this hospital bed and room. How much do I want to do this? You know, I can... come down to like there. I'm just seeing how much of the background I can actually delete in one go. Oh, it might look like a lot of it actually. Let's see if this works. Yeah. I've actually got a lot of beverages with me for today's stream. 3 hours. I've got a cold brew coffee my wife made before she went out, which I've yet to finish, which is the drink I'm currently on. I have a cup of tea, a decaf, normal English breakfast tea, and I have a can of rum and coke. You know, you guys might know by now, I like to have a little tipple while I'm painting. Yo, David. We're just gently going around these wires. This will all be rough. I'll probably go do all this wire again in a minute. But it's just mainly to get the wall down. That's the thing. That's the funny thing about... I do this with the forest as well. I'm removing the wall so then I can do the wall better. Because I have another layer underneath, which is the wall, but then I can edit that. How is your day? It's good. Yeah, going good. I'm doing good. Yeah, no complaints except for feeling I've got a little bit of the sniffles, not the COVID. Just normal everyday sniffles. Jack, since you did Jurassic June in the King Kong files, are you going to do one for the history of Zorro movies, says David. No. Mainly because I'm not a massive fan of Zorro. So I'm probably not going to touch on Zorro. This conversation right now is probably the only time I'll ever touch on Zorro on this channel, if I'm honest. I don't think I've, aside from maybe the old, there's one old Zorro film, like a black and white one, and the Antonio Banderas, the first film he did, I think are the only Zorro films I've ever seen. But I can't even remember the name of the old black and white one. Shinobi says, Jurassic misconception. People believe Claire Dearing was the top manager of Jurassic World and wonder how she wasn't sued for all the damage, or how nobody recognised her in Fallen Kingdom if she was famous. Yeah, right? That is a misconception. I was blaming Claire. It's like she was... Okay, she was the operations manager. And yes, some things happened under her watch. But she's not the one that the hammer's going to fall down on entirely. And plus, here's your evidence for debunking that thing whenever people bring it up. If Claire is brought up in a trial, right, to be like, alright Claire, we're going to have to talk to you because we believe your negligence in your involvement in the park was negligent and led to the deaths of lots of people. Claire can turn around and be like, okay, whilst that might be true, the whole reason why we were undermined at Jurassic World by nefarious motives going on behind the scenes. Henry Wu and Henry Wu worked for this guy Hoskins, who was killed at Jurassic World, which the evidence would be there of that happening and of his death. We know this because Hoskins told Claire, you know, Henry Wu, he works for us. That's what he directly says to her. And she can say, you need to investigate Wu because he deliberately messed with the genes of the Indominus to create a hybrid animal. And it was their plan to make this animal for military research purposes. And people like Lowry can also contest this, because he was in the control room when Hoskins came in and took over the control room, so there was something going on. And the evidence, the only on-screen evidence for this, I'm not saying it's like an integral deep part of the films in terms of actual executed details, but there's hints to it in the movies. And what I mean by that is, in the BBC News, the BBC News segment at the start of Fallen Kingdom, one of the little tickers at the bottom says, former InGen scientist Dr. Henry Wu, right? So he's a former InGen scientist, so that tells us that he's been either fired or he's definitely not a part of InGen anymore. When he was a part of InGen at the end of Jurassic World, he was still working for Hoskins, who was part of InGen. So Henry Wu not working for InGen anymore. That tells us that the world knows of Henry Wu's actions and his involvement in the park, because why would he be a former InGen scientist if everyone was blaming Claire and everyone who worked at the park? They have even everyone who worked in the control room can say they didn't know that this was a hybrid. Well, they knew it was a hybrid, but they didn't know that it was messed with in such a way. They didn't know it could camouflage. They didn't know it could hide its heat signature. The very reason the park actually failed was due to Henry Wu and Vic Hoskins secretly toying with it. Obviously in Fallen Kingdom, later on in the film, you know, it says former InGen scientist Dr. Henry Wu. Or when we actually see, so it's funny because in the news ticker they call him Dr. Henry Wu still, but when we get to the auction, you hear Eversole describe Henry Wu as Mr. Henry Wu. So he's lost his doctorate. He's lost his position of doctor. So that lends us to believe that whoever took that title from him was part of this whole, this whole thing of blaming Henry Wu for what happened, and that's why Henry Wu is in hiding in Lockwood Manor. Now, this is something I don't hear fans talk about that often. Is I don't think. Now, I maybe I need to talk to Colin about this to get some confirmation. I really don't think Benjamin Lockwood even knew Henry Wu was in the basement. Like, I don't think he knew at all that that Henry Wu was sort of living or working. Let's say he probably wasn't living there, but working from the basement. He probably had no idea. Because I know Mills says that they've started up the old systems in the basement or whatever and refurbished them. And so I'm guessing that Lockwood doesn't even know about that. I'm guessing Lockwood just assumes that the basement is shut off and there's nothing going on down there. That's my assumption. But my point is that the evidence on screen for Claire not getting into trouble is what's happened to Henry Wu. Why would he not be a doctor anymore, and why would he be a former InGen scientist if the world didn't know? I mean, the BBC are talking about him, so everyone knows that he's to blame. So there you go. There you have it. That's why it's a misconception. Claire would basically be like, well, I'm not at fault because we were just trying to deal with this problem that shouldn't have happened in the first place. That would be her case. Now, I'm no lawyer. But obviously, Henry Wu, let's say he tries to get a lawyer to defend him. the lawyer's going to have a very, very hard task to defend Henry Wu's case when he worked at Jurassic Park, where the dinosaurs were breeding uncontrollably without his knowledge, and that park failed. And also Jurassic World, but also the fact that he was deliberately messing with the Indominus and had to go basically into exile. And also another thing about, another Jurassic misconception is this idea that Claire needed to call the control room from the Indominus Rex paddock. So I always hear this, like, oh, everything's Claire's fault because she doesn't call the control room to make sure that it's in its paddock still. And it's like, one, she doesn't think it's still in the paddock because she's panicking. She believes it's climbed out, because that's why Owen says, well, those claw marks always there. She can't see it because it's obviously camouflaging. It's also hiding its heat signature from the machines. So she believes it's out. So she panics and she wants to be in control. So she feels comfortable in the control room. So she wants to rush to the control room to make the call, to track it. And while she's on the way to the control room, she calls Lowry and be like, can you locate the Indominus? And that's when he's shocked. Yes, if she'd have kept calm and called Lowry from the Indominus Rex paddock, there'd be no film. But that's the same sort of argument as saying, well, if Hammond didn't clone dinosaurs, people wouldn't have died. Because the whole reason people bring up that whole Claire situation is like, oh, it's her fault. It's like, yes, that was a mistake on her part, but she had every right to assume that the thing was out. She has no idea it could camouflage. She has no idea it could hide its heat signature. So when she looks into the paddock and she's knocking on the window going, where is it? That's one of the things where I kind of wish Trevorrow had added in a shot of the jungle, like a static shot of the jungle, and the Indominus is hidden in the frame, like camouflaged, and you see it for like a split second. Like you see the frame for a split second, I mean. And then she's like, where is it? And it's like, that'd be one of those things where it'd be kind of funny for the audience to see it, and like on repeat viewings be like, oh yeah, I see it, oh my god, there it is. Like, kind of thing. I kind of wish they'd done that, kind of like a magic eye or something, like actually camouflaging Indominus into the brush. But this whole argument of like, oh, it's Claire's fault for it, it's like, that's a rubbish argument. It holds no water. Never Not So Clever, this says, I may be in the minority, but JP International Courtroom drama would be really interesting. Okay, I'm going to reveal, if I ever get the chance to make a Jurassic Park TV miniseries, so like, let's say like Chernobyl, so like a 5-part miniseries, this is what I would do. The main character would be a lawyer. It'd be like sort of, let's turn Gennaro into a main character kind of thing. We follow a lawyer working on a case in 1998, dealing with what they're going to do about sauna. And the only time it'd be like maybe a 5-episode miniseries, the only time you would ever see, so Hammond, let's say Hammond's dead, He's just died. Masrani is taking over InGen. And the episode would follow the acquisition and takeover of Masrani, of InGen by Masrani, sorry. And it would also be the court case would basically be focused solely in on what to do about the dinosaurs from a legal standpoint and what to do about the islands. And you know, you have the Costa Rican government there represented who want to keep a hold of the islands, and all this, that and the other. It's about how the islands get restricted and how they get their rights. It's that ethical, the Gene Guard Act or whatever we wrote on the website for the DPG. It would be like that. The only time you'd ever see dinosaurs is on courtroom, like VHS quality courtroom video. So that way it'd keep the budget of the show like way down. Think like a House of Cards. And that would be my mature Jurassic Park series. You know, you could have some swearing, just a little bit of swearing. No one like dies or anything like that. So you could keep the just keep it simple. But the dialogue and that wouldn't be for kids because it's like dealing. So it would be a lot of, you know, jargon about keeping the dinosaur alive. But the drama for the show, why to actually watch it, why the hook is this lawyer believes he's being targeted by someone, this nefarious group, because he's trying to get the islands restricted, and he believes this nefarious group who are after him basically are trying to blackmail him into dropping the case so the islands can just be left open and free and legally open for anyone to just go and pillage. That would honestly be the series I would do. Now, I'm not going to go any deeper into the ideas I have for it, because obviously if by some miracle I was ever to write something like that, I obviously want to keep it all secret, but there you go, that's what I would do. You heard it here first. But it's like reading Airframe by Michael Crichton. That's the sort of thing I'd be interested in using as inspiration, because that book's about a plane that's flying along and then it just drops, and I think one person dies or something on the plane, and then and that's like right in the first chapter or something, and then the rest of the book follows this journalist or some representative of the plane company, I can't remember which, who are investigating what happened, but also it's all about the nefarious kind of backhanded ways the media represents the plane company and how they twist the truth to make the plane company look bad, because there's people who have their hands in different people's pockets, and it's basically all corrupt. And it's about how it all builds up to this interview on TV with the people who are working on like the plane and what happened and all that sort of stuff. And it's not actiony at all. It's more just like I don't know, like almost like a courtroom drama. And that's the sort of angle I would go with it. I'd try and keep it really in line with the law aspect of it. And just I'd try and actually bring that real grounded reality to this franchise, which I argue isn't realistic at all. Like Jurassic series is more like Indiana Jones in a way. It's like all over the place, like, and they're adventure stories. But there's this notion with a lot of older fans that the series is much more adult than it otherwise is, and that's because of the books. So I'd be like emulating the world of the books, but you know, doing it for the film universe. You wouldn't see any of the characters from the films. And the reason I would do that is because obviously you don't want to, like, the actors are older and you're setting it in 1998. It'd be following the companies more than that, and they don't need witnesses for the incidents, but they can mention their names and they can say that there's like another court date that happened or is about to happen where they're going to hear testimonials about that incident, but that's a separate case. Like they'd say, oh, you know, the incident in 1997 with the T-Rex in San Diego, you know, those involved, they've got their own legal case to battle and that. But today, we're like, this case is following literally the legality of Isla Sorna being restricted and the fight for that as its own case, like as its own thing, as its own battle. Excuse me, I'm just going to have to cough 1 second. Ooh. Yeah, it's because I muted my mic. I didn't want you to hear me cough because it would have been really loud into the mic. Favorite comic books? Asks David. Alien Labyrinth is one of them. I do like the only Marvel comic that I've ever read is the Infinity Gauntlet, which I've got over there actually, which is what obviously the Marvel films are based on. That storyline is great. I much prefer it in the comic book than I do the films. That's the only Marvel comic I've read. How many Jim Carrey movies have I seen? All right, let's try and list them. Okay, so is everyone in the chat ready to count? Because I'm going to be painting while I'm doing this, so we're going to need people to count how many. So, okay. Ace Ventura, When Nature Calls, Man on the Moon, The Truman Show, The Mask, Earth Girls Are Easy, Eternal Sunshine of a Spotless Mind, I think that's the title. Batman Forever, Dumb and Dumber, Jim Carrey movies. Yes Man, Bruce Almighty. What else have I seen? Trying to think. Trying to think of other Jim Carrey movies. I haven't seen number 23. Nine in total. Thank you, Jurassic World New Era. Yeah, I swear there's more though. I swear I've seen more. My favourite is Man on the Moon. No, tell a lie. It's Ace Ventura, When Nature Calls. That's my favourite one. I've never seen any of his skits in full or his stand-up. Like, I've never watched any of those. Robert De Niro as Alan Grant, says David randomly. No, I wouldn't want that. Not at all. Not at all. Okay, so we've finally got that done. Let's go ahead and paint the walls. Strange. Where's that? Strange. There's like a gap in this frame, but I can't seem to get rid of it. Okay, there we go. For some reason, I can't get rid of it unless I draw over it. Weird! That's a weird thing. Jurassic World New Era says, nobody asked your favourite dinosaur. Oh my god. Everyone asks me that. Do you like Scarface? I saw it once a while ago. It's probably a good film. I just can't remember really liking it. It's not... I don't know. I'd have to rewatch it. It's been too long. I'd probably prefer the original one if I'm honest. Isn't Scar a remake? I'll sort that roof bit out later. Okay, so let's get So we want to use this brush tool just to lighten up the walls a bit. You want them to look painted, but you don't want them to look too painted. That's better. Phantom Limb says, ooh, this looks interesting. Hello, Phantom. David says, what are some of the best burgers you've had? Favourite burgers? I made one myself the other day that was absolutely insanely nice. I wasn't expecting it to be. It's like an aubergine burger thing. It was like a veggie burger, but I'm not like a veggie. But I made this thing for me and my wife, and oh my word, it was like to die for. Never Not So Clever at this is, so so there have not been one but two survival horror dinosaur titles previewed recently: Jurassic Park Aftermath and Death Ground. Which one seems more interesting? I'm gonna be harsh, and I'm gonna say Jurassic Park Aftermath, but only because it looks weird, but I'm probably never going to play it because it's on a system that I don't buy. I haven't bought. And the other one, Death Ground, to me just looks like I don't know, I mean, it looks like it could be fun for what it is, but I kind of wish they'd done their own thing. Like, it just looks like they're ripping off Jurassic, and I kind of wish they'd done their own thing with like what the dinosaurs look like and all that sort of stuff. It just looks a bit bland. That's not to say it doesn't look like fun or you know, they're not talented people for working on it, but it's like, oh, you had the opportunity to make your own thing, which I guess they're trying to do by calling it like Death Ground or whatever. But at the same time, it just looks like Jurassic Park. When if I was in their shoes, I'd be like, we have the opportunity to create our own game here and do something that stands out from Jurassic. Set it somewhere else. Have a different setting, have a different idea. Did you say I'm not like a veggie? I used to be vegetarian, and then I went pescatarian for a long while. But at the moment, or since my daughter's been born, I've been eating lots more meat again. So no, I'm not. I wouldn't consider myself a vegetarian anymore. You know what I'm really saying about that Death Ground game is those guys were so selfish not to reach out and go, hey Jack, look, we're thinking of making this dinosaur survival horror game, you know, inspired by Jurassic Park. Can we make a Dino-Defenders Extreme game and we'll work in cahoots with you to make a game of your series? And hey presto, we've got our own little franchise kicked off that could potentially rival, you know, Jurassic Park itself. But no, they have to go make their own bloody thing, don't they? You're just confused by the slang. Alright, I get you. Sour grapes there, Jack. No, I'm only joshing. I'm only joking. But if you do want to make a video game of Dino-Defenders Extreme, please reach out. But you don't have to. But do. But don't. You don't have to. But you do. You do have to. Are you trying to make it nighttime, Jack? What, for this frame? No. It's just going to be a very low lit room. I'm just trying to get the thing to look right at the moment. Hey, let's have some tea. Oop. Let's have all the liquids. Let's have a bit of this rum and coke. Hey Jack, have you watched the Ricky Gervais show Afterlife? Asks Phantom. Yeah, I've watched season 1 and I didn't rate it that highly. David asks, when are you playing a video game next to a live stream? Not for a long time. I have got some games lined up for when I do get back to it, but not for a while. Not since I've had the little one. You know, the baby's priority. I don't have time to sit down and play a video game for like 6 hours or so. And every time I've got the opportunity to live stream, I want to work on this because I want to get this done. Shinobi says, has anyone approached you to make a fan dub of Dino-Defenders Extreme? No. I mean, some people have asked if they could voice it. But I said I don't want voice actors. But if someone wanted to like take the episodes and do their own fan dub, that'd be kind of cool to see. But my issue with that is I only want, it's going to sound selfish, but I want the views to go to my channel. So it'd have to be something they do send to me and then I upload. Well, I don't know actually. Maybe Dino-Defenders needs to be something that's sort of more open, you know? One day you should play Jurassic Park fan games on Livestream. Maybe one day. Romantic fan service in mind, Jack. What do you mean, Gary? What are you trying to say? That'd be cool. I honestly prefer the style you're doing. Has an old school video game vibe. Yeah, that was the idea. Thinking about Jess and Mia. Yeah. I've got to sort the detail on that out. Is it weird that this backdrop has me even more intrigued about episode 4? Excited to seeing more character exploration. Oh, I think if you're looking for character exploration in episode 4, you're going to love it. It's going to be right up your alley. It's going to be right up your alley. We definitely explore some characters in episode 4. Let me tell you that, son. No, that's not going to work. What do I need to do? Do you know what? I'm going to sort this hospital stuff out because part of me is not liking what I'm seeing. What are your favourite Hitchcock movies? I like North by Northwest is my favourite of his. I also really love Psycho. I saw Vertigo for the first time not too long ago, and I was a little bit disappointed by that film, if I'm honest. I couldn't see why people loved it so much, and I was disappointed by the ending. And I was like, I don't think that lived up to the hype. And I know it's like one of his. A lot of people say it's their favourite of his. I didn't see it. I didn't get what people were seeing. There was parts in it I liked, but the acting was great. No doubt about all that. The acting and stuff was awesome. But the actual story and everything, I was like, oh, it's not Not that it wasn't what I was expecting, but I was just like, yeah, I'm not really into the story that he's telling. Never Not So Clever at This says, making a fan dub would be relatively simple, voices aside. All I'd have to need is an unmixed music. It would also dramatically speed up the show's pacing, which would mute all the detail effort Jack Finn. Why would you need the unmixed music? The music in the show... I mean, you could rip the audio from the show, and I don't know. There's ways of doing it. I don't know why you'd need unmixed music. Oh yeah, new episodes of Primal coming soon. Yeah, that I'm excited about. Primal's like the best dinosaur show going at the moment, aside from Dino-Defenders Extreme. Just want to Google. Huh. Okay. Basically, I just need to move that like this. Trying to get the handles right on these defibrillators. 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 Ooh. Yo, Big Shark. Okay, so what do we got here? Turn that. Yo, trash picture show? Is that Darius's dad's hospital room? No. No, it is not. I'll tell you why it's not. This has got more detail in it. Sort of neatening up the areas that I painted. How's the kid, by the way? Asked Trash Picture Show. Late night, awake, or sleeping like a log? She's doing okay. She's in the other room with my wife right now. She had a bit of a rough night's sleep. Well, I was at work at 3 AM, you see, so I woke up at 2, and my wife was feeding her, and she was awake. Because we're not bottle feeding her, you see, we breast milk and all that. We wanted to do it old school. So until we could express more, my wife does the majority of the feeding. I had work at 3 o'clock in the morning, so I woke up at 2 and she was awake. And then when I got home from work at 8 AM, my wife was still awake and said she hadn't got any sleep. Bless her. But Wednesday nights, so like tomorrow night, I don't have work on Thursday, so I have the day off. That's my only one day off a week from work. So Wednesday night and Thursday nights I take the baby, and I'll have a bottle of expressed milk at my hand, and my wife will go sleep for 6-7 hours if she can, while I have the baby on me fast asleep, and then if she wakes up I feed her. And we've been watching Star Trek Enterprise, so I've been working my way through the Star Trek Enterprise series, which I'd never seen before, so that's the only Star Trek series I haven't seen. And we're into the last season 4, which I think's the last season. Super underrated. Yeah, it's got better. I liked season 3 the most so far, but in the beginning it was like boring as hell. And me and my friend Will would make jokes and say like, Captain Archer, oh, because he's so boring as a captain. But I really liked season 3. It was good. There was one episode in season 2 I really liked where Trip got trapped on a planet with this alien, and they couldn't talk to one another. They didn't know what each other wanted, but they kept battling each other. It was kind of a fun episode. Very old school Star Trek vibes from that one. Vibage. Favorite David Bowie song, if any. No, I don't want to find. Shut up, phone. No, I don't really have one, if I'm honest. I hope she gets well rested, says Trash Picture Show. You guys get some rest. Also, who's your favourite character in Enterprise so far? Mine's Phlox. My favourite character in Enterprise is... it's probably Trip. Probably his Trip. He seems to be the one with the most personality. Him and Phlox, definitely. Phlox is the doctor, right? I hate that it got cancelled. Phlox reminds me too much of Neelix. Yeah, he really does. Yeah, I'm at the point in season 4 they've just ended up back on Earth during World War II, or an alternative World War II where Hitler's invading America. Like, he's taken the East Coast. I'm only up to like episode 2 or 3 of season 4 at the moment, so. But that's what me and my daughter. Well, I say she watches it. She probably can't even see the TV properly. It's probably all blurry to her, but that's what we watch together every Wednesday night. Sit down and watch some Star Trek. No, I haven't seen the Orville. I've heard good things about it, but I've not watched it myself. Oop, wrong one. Speaking of Star Trek, there's a guy or girl who lives down the road from me who seems to put Star Trek Voyager memes in their window. Like, every time I walk past their house, there's a different Star Trek meme in the window. I haven't seen what the latest one is. It's got Janeway on it, and she's saying something. I think they're ones that they create themselves. There's one with 7 and 9, and they're not really that... Well, I can't really read them because they're a little bit too small. But it just makes me laugh because it's so random. I think they've got like COVID related stuff on them, like as a joke. I'm kind of half tempted to print one off and stick it on like a pole opposite their house with like Tuvok saying something in response, just to freak them out that there's another Star Trek Voyager fan nearby who's like recognised that they do that. Picard is a tragedy. Yeah, Picard sucked. That was a rubbish show. Star Trek for me with Picard ends before Picard. Like, I like the end of the TV series where he just joins the game with the rest of the crew, the poker game. I think that's the best ending for Picard. Take Picard and replace him with Geordi, and that suddenly works. To an extent, there's a lot going on in Picard that's wrong, other than the fact that Picard is Data's friend, even though it was Geordi in the show. Like, it was more the bigger mess up for me was like the fact that the world that they created was just, it didn't feel like Star Trek at all. It wasn't optimistic, it was miserable. Earth had poverty again. Like, what was that all about? Like, it just felt like our world, and it was just really crap. And that was probably because they tried to make it like really political, as some sort of political statement of today. And it's like, just keep that shit out of the entertainment shows. It ruins everything. No one wants to be lectured. Thank you very much for the $2 super chat, Big Shark 9000. That's very kind of you. See, it's funny because I'm going to have to remember everything I'm doing here, colour-wise, because I've got, if I can open this up, I've painted these as well. So, like, I've got this side shot of the hospital room, and then I've got this shot of the hospital bed. Excuse me. And then this dead-on one. So you can see, like, this is very rough. But, like, you can see I've got different views, and they're going to have to match to this. So I have to remember that I made the pillow white now. Yeah, modern Trek is too edgy, Phantom. It's just awful. Oh, I didn't look if Guanji had the Ankylosaurus tail. Let me have a look. You'll never guess what. There's Guanji. And he has the Ankylosaurus tail. What is that about? Why does he have a club tail? I've never noticed that before. That's funny. Gotta eat. Where was I up to? So doing the pillow. T-Rex with a club tail would be Never Not So Clever at This says Trek was best hitting politics from the side. Well, that's the thing, is like, obviously Trek dealt with politics all the time, but it wasn't like politics, direct politics dealing with what's happening today. It was like a sort of overarching political stance they would take, so you could apply it to any time period, and it would show sort of the arguments from both sides. It wouldn't like pick a side and then, you know, lecture its audience. It would let you, the person watching, decide. Thank you, Trash Picture Show, for the €5 super chat. Thank you very much. That is most kind. It says, Jack, which would you prefer, a prequel series on the last days of the worker village on Isla Sorna, or the capture of dinos for Jurassic World? I'm gonna go with the see, this is tough. Okay, before I give you my answer, I'm going to tell you why this is tough, because each one presents something unique that I would like to see. So this is a tough decision. The worker village on Isla Sorna would be great to see, because one, obviously we've never seen the worker village operating, but then again, I don't know if that's killing the mystery of it. Like, I kind of like that you never see that operational. But the interesting part of that is what was the point I was going to make? It's something in relation to the other one. The interesting one with that one is we know that it's going to end on a dark note. It's going to be like the abandonment of the island, because it's, as you said, the last days of the worker village. So it's going to have this like ominous, or actually no, it's the opposite, isn't it? It's going to have this sort of like, it could have like a happy ending where characters make it off just at the last moment, or the good guys survive, that you want to survive, and they get off as things are going to pot. As I paint a pot, you see. But the Jurassic World one presents us with an opportunity to explore a time period we haven't seen, we've only ever heard about in text and rumours and this, that and the other. But that would end on an ominous note, because that would have to end on the park being a success. So on one hand, you've got one show where the drama is fueled by this place being abandoned because of a storm, and God knows what else you would add into the series. And the other one is, it has to end on a success story, like for those characters that they've captured the island. Obviously, the dinosaurs being captured would be a problem in themselves. So it's like, which do I want to choose out of those? I might have to go with the. I'm gonna go with the Jurassic World one, the capture of Isla Nublar, because the Site B one gets my like nostalgic senses going. Like, ooh, that'd be cool to see. But at the same time, it's like, what is it really adding? It's like, we know that the place was abandoned because of a storm, as Hammond says. Like, we already know this information. Whereas the Jurassic World one could really go into show more of the actual development of how something like the park could get off the ground. And show us more of the relationship between Site B and Nublar. You know, as they're bringing in new dinosaurs and capturing them on Nublar and all that. Like, that's what I'd like to see. So we've never had a film that, like, deals with both islands simultaneously. It'd be kind of cool to, like, do something like that. Yeah, Star Trek used to be apolitical. Now it's one-sided. Never Not So Clever at This says, well, Trek did have a progressive direction, but even then it didn't paint that progressivism as rosy, and it often came with new different problems, like when Crusher fell in love with Dax. Yeah, that's the thing. It had this progressive outlook, but it did it through a very, dare I say, sort of conservative mindset. So, like, you got to think of the Star Trek ship, how it operates. They're all in regimental uniform that shows their rank, and they do obviously have their own clothes and stuff when they're off duty. But when they're on duty, they're in their regimental uniforms. They appeal to the hierarchy of the ship, and everyone's doing this willingly because they all understand that they want to explore the universe for the greater good and the knowledge of human or life, like just for the knowledge of life, not just humans. Life itself, the pursuit of knowledge. But the way they act is, when they're, you know, on a mission, is not very. It's progressive because it's so anti-progressive. Does that make sense? Like, because they're so. They conserve the hierarchy. They've got the rules are in place. They've got a very rigid set of rules that they stick by, and everyone understands their place, and no one works outside of their boundaries. And if they do, it's like a dramatic thing in the episode, like done on purpose. So had characters who acted very conservatively, if I'm using that word, the Prime Directive, yeah, all that sort of stuff, like. But their goals and the way that their outlook was very progressive. But they understood the importance of a rigid, structured hierarchy on the ship in order to maintain control and order, law and order, one would say. Been watching a lot of your old commentaries lately. My favourite ones were being Alien Resurrection, Batman Forever, and Deep Blue Sea, says Big Shark. Yeah, they were fun. The beginning of lockdown. Here's the thing though. The only reason the Star Trek crews can get away with being very, you know, that they respect the hierarchy of the ship, and they stick to it, and they play by the rules, is because they have things like no one wants anything, because, you know, obviously they don't have money anymore. If they want food, there's a replicator that can just make it for them. If they want to learn something, as soon as they're off duty, they've got this holodeck where they can go learn. and experience anything while they're off. And obviously they can go, they have shore leave and stuff just as an added bonus, but they can have as much fun as they like on their off time, but also what they're doing is very interesting. So that's why they respect the hierarchy, whereas in real life nowadays, like where I work, you know, the hierarchy, there is a hierarchy. It's very much like Star Trek. You got your uniform and all that sort of stuff, but because you're looking to get paid, and you know, you got bills to pay and all this sort of stuff, it becomes a bit of a different mindset. Whereas I genuinely believe if we lived in a world where, you know, it was like Star Trek, I believe people would be doing stuff like that. Like, people like to work on what they're passionate about, and people would just seek out what they want to work on. But it always makes me laugh because it's like, you know, people say Star Trek is a very progressive show, which it is. But, you know, progressives, let's generalization here of people who are progressives in 2020. If you were to tell them to act like the crew of the Star Trek ship, they wouldn't want to do that because, you know, they don't appeal. They don't like hierarchies, you know. Shinobi says, imagine if horror films were criticised for having unjustified deaths the same way they're currently doing with the Jurassic franchise. Yeah. I mean, I don't get it. When people say it's undeserved deaths, and then they complain, no good guys were killed in Fallen Kingdom. You know, Benjamin Lockwood aside, it's like, well, don't you realise by now that, like, the studios want to make money and stuff, and if you complain endlessly about one thing, they're going to be like, well, they don't want this, so they're going to change it. No, you know, the producers and all that. So really, you only have yourselves to blame. I don't particularly care either way. As long as the film's good. As long as the film's good, I don't care what it does. Because it's a good film. If it's a good film, I don't care what it does. Does that make sense? There's no rules. I've been in that place before. I made videos on YouTube about what rules Jurassic should play by. And I sounded like a knob. Never Not So Clever that says, I don't know if you know this, but the raptor cage handler at the start of JP cheated on his taxes, so he earned his gory, painful death. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I understand. Never Not So Clever. This says I criticise Zara's death as being overkill, not for its moral implications. Yeah, that's that's fair enough. If you want to say it's overkill, it's like, yeah, okay, I can see that. I don't mind it personally because it's the first on-screen female death. Like, it's the first woman being killed on screen, and I'm like, okay, well, if we're treating women equally, then they can get a crazy death as their first one, make it memorable. And it was definitely memorable because everyone's talking about it still. So I think they achieved their goal there. What's going on? Ah, there we go. Okay, so now I'm going to start doing some of the shading. Bugger. I just realised I've got the floor, haven't I? Big Shark 9000 says, Fallen Kingdom is one of my favourites. When it came out, I didn't understand why people disliked it. I still don't understand why people don't like it. It's a great movie. I understand like some niggly bits people might have with it, you know. Some little like nitpicks here and there, but I think why I think a lot of fans, and this is me, I'm going to try and dance around this to not be a gatekeeper of the franchise, but I just want to get this thought out there. I think if I reach into my gut, you know, my fact-knowing gut, you know, my gut's full of facts. My gut can never be wrong. Now, if I reach into my feels, I get this feeling that if fans who didn't like Fallen Kingdom, now I'm talking about like actual fans of the franchise here, not just like casual viewers or whatever who didn't like it, but actual fans of the franchise. I wonder if you ask them, you know, view Fallen Kingdom as its own movie. Like, try and separate it from the rest of the franchise. How good of a film is it then? Because aside from, I think, the name drop of sauna, honestly, I think from the name drop of sauna is the only thing in the film that would leave you confused. I think if you hadn't watched any of the other movies, I honestly think that if you take the name drop of sauna out, that film, you can watch it on its own with no context of any other Jurassic film, and the whole thing still makes sense. So I've always wondered, like, is it because it's attached to the other films that people don't like it? Who don't like it? Like, is it because it didn't live up to the expectation there? But if you view it as a film on its own standards, like its own, if it's its own film, is what I'm saying. If it was like one film, would you still not like it? That's what I'd want to know. Trash Picture says that I think a lot of detractors don't like the idea of the island being destroyed. Well, if that's the case, it's like, if that was its own film, you have no context of that island anyway. So, like, if you think, like, imagine you've never heard of Jurassic Park, right? You've never heard of it. You don't know anything about Jurassic whatsoever. Like, it's completely new to you. And then you watch Fallen Kingdom, and you're like, okay, I'm gonna watch this, and this is its own film here. Okay, what information do you get out of the story? Now, obviously, sauna name drop is gonna be the difficult one here, because obviously, when Mills says sauna, you're gonna be like, what the hell's sauna? But okay, so you open the film up, and they're grabbing the Indominus Rex bones. So you open the film up, and you know, let's say you've never seen it before, you've never seen any Jurassic, you're like, okay, these guys are getting bones of some dinosaur at the bottom of the lagoon. The name Indominus Rex isn't in the fossil record if you were to look it up, so you could determine from that this dinosaur is a genetically engineered animal, which I think they mention in dialogue in Fallen Kingdom anyway at some point. So you would get that context later on. So all you see is an abandoned island. You see these bones at the bottom of the lake, and you see a mosasaurus in the lake. So you're like, okay, so this animal died at some point in the lake, like it got killed. Then the story plays out. You meet Claire, you meet Owen. Obviously, you know who Blue is because Mills goes, we can save this raptor, and he gives you the context that she's potentially the most intelligent creature on the planet aside from humans. He says that line for line, so you're like, okay, I'm being told this dinosaur is super intelligent. Then Claire goes and meets Owen, and she says you raised her. All this sort of stuff. So you're given information on Owen raised this raptor. You see the raptor files, so you can see he has history with it. You don't need to see all what happened in Jurassic World to understand Owen's relationship with Blue at this point. You can watch Fallen Kingdom on its own and still get it. And then, you know, obviously just skipping ahead for a second, like Jurassic Park, you know, Mills says, you know, before the islands, sauna. I know he names drops sauna there. He goes Jurassic Park. And we get all the context for Hammond because Mills says, he says John Alfred Hammond, the father of Jurassic Park. Like, so we're like, okay, that guy in the oil painting is the guy who was the father of Jurassic Park. What's Jurassic Park? We see a model of Jurassic Park in Mills' room, Benjamin Lockwood's room. So we could see that it was a park that was on this island at some point. And we also see the car, we see the tour car, so we know that park failed. What else do we need to know? I don't know. I think like all the context is in there. Principal Skinner, Billy and the Clonosaurus. Yeah, never heard of Jurassic Park. I'm just trying to think of like any other context that you might need. The Endoraptor, because like the Indominus, you'd be like, oh, you might think, oh, you need to watch Jurassic World to know what the Indominus is. But all you need for the context of Fallen Kingdom's story is that the Indominus Rex was the thing that destroyed Jurassic World, which is what Eli Mills said, and we can see the evidence of that on screen with the destroyed park that they go to. So you don't necessarily need to watch Jurassic World to understand what's happening in Fallen Kingdom. Even the BBC News person says, like, 3 years after the fall of Jurassic World, Masrani Global, blah blah blah, all this sort of stuff. Mills even tells Claire that she authorized the Indominus Rex creation, like, by just going along with it, like she allowed it to be made. I think Benjamin Lockwood tells Maisie that her mother visited the old park at some point. I think there might be a little bit of confusion between which park is which, but not much really. But for the context of the story, you don't need the other Jurassics. So this is what I mean. It's like, I'd love to hear what if people try and view these films as standalone movies. Like, okay, so someone might be like, well, who's Dr. Malcolm? Like, what's the significance of this bearded guy telling us, that the dinosaurs are, should be destroyed or whatever? You don't really need to know. I guess you'd be like, who is he? But in the film, it has his name plaque. It says Dr. Malcolm. So you get his name, and you get to know that he's a guy who thinks the dinosaurs should all be destroyed, and he thinks because it's going to bring about change on planet Earth. You don't need any other information about who he is to understand what he's doing in Fallen Kingdom. If you were to watch Fallen Kingdom without any other context of the other Jurassics, you'd think, okay, so he's a doctor who's being summoned by the government to talk about this issue, and he's warning everyone about what could potentially happen, and that's what we're going to be watching play out as I watch this movie. So again, you don't really need the context. You don't need any other context than that for Malcolm. So yeah, I mean, and this is the sort of shit I think about. It's like, you don't need to watch anything. So I'm just interested to hear how, like, people who don't like Fallen Kingdom, like, what they would think if they were watching it through that mindset of like, oh, okay, let's pretend you've never seen another Jurassic. How's the film now? Like, on a film on its own terms, like as its own film. Like, even the ending of the film, the ending of the film, the dinosaurs are all out and gone global. So if we were to watch this film on its own terms, obviously we're dealing with this world where the dinosaurs, it ends on a note of the dinosaurs got out. Which, if it was its own film, it's like, okay, it's a sour note to end on, but that's how it ends, and it ends on obviously Malcolm saying "Welcome to Jurassic World" or whatever. So yeah, it's just one of those things where it's like, that's actually how I view the movies. I know they are connected, but when I watch Fallen Kingdom, I tend to watch it as its own story, which on its own merits. But yeah, the sauna name drop would be the only thing, as far as I could tell, that if you were to watch this without knowledge of any other Jurassic film, would be if you were to think about it, the only confusing thing about it. You'd be like, well, what was that name? What was sauna? Because no one mentions what it is anywhere else in the film. So that'd be the only thing. So it's like Never Not So Clever at This said on I like Fallen Kingdom, but for what it is, but it's rushed. But that's what I mean. It's like, is it rushed because you're comparing it in your mind to what the other Jurassic films do, or if you were to watch it as its own film, would it still feel rushed? Do you understand what I'm? Do you get what I'm trying to say here? Like, does that make sense? Like, if there was no other Jurassic film and you watched this film called Jurassic World: Fallen Kingdom, and that was the only film in the franchise, like, would it feel rushed to you if it was exactly the same as it is? That's what I've always wondered. Or does it feel rushed because obviously we've got other films in the franchise that you can compare it to? Big Shark says, my friend hates the movie, but he likes Jurassic Park 3. He knows it's a bad film, but hates On World and Fallen Kingdom. Well, if he likes Jurassic Park 3 and hates Jurassic World, Fallen Kingdom, he is beyond help. Okay, not too bad. Now let's change this floor. That's a good question, says Never Not So Clever at This. Yeah, it's just, I'm not saying you're wrong or anything. I'm just curious, because it's like, if you try and view these films as their own film, like even Jurassic World, it's like Jurassic World you can watch without any other Jurassic movie and it still makes sense. Like if you all, like, and every Jurassic movie does this. Like Lost World, you could watch Lost World without any context of Jurassic Park and you would still understand what's happening. Because let's go through it. So in the Lost World, you know, what do you need to know? You need to know that Hammond had a park that was on a different island, and that park failed. We get that in exposition, and then if you're sitting there thinking, well, I wonder what that park looked like, there's that scene where Nick Van Owen bumps into the mural, so you can kind of get a glimpse at what it was like. And obviously the guy on the train at the beginning was like, I believed you, and all this sort of stuff. So you know, in the context of that film, that this park failed, Malcolm was involved, and now he's like being publicly mocked because no one believed what he'd seen. And aside from that, I think that's it. You know, even Ludlow says, like, when Hammond first dreamt of this, he dreamt of an island. But why bring the zoo to them? Bring the zoo to them, that sort of thing. Like, so there is context in the film. Obviously, it's not like you don't see it; it's all just spoken. Aside from the mural that he bumps into, that Nick Van Owen bumps into, but you can watch The Lost World and not watch Jurassic Park and still understand what is happening. I think the only bit that would be confusing, not necessarily, is Lex and Tim, but yeah, I don't know if that would actually be confusing, because if you were to watch the film without Jurassic Park, they would just be Hammond's kids that Malcolm knows, like, and they like Malcolm, but obviously they don't like, but Ludlow doesn't like him. That, like, there's, Yeah, that makes sense. Even Malcolm says, like, to Ludlow, you know, you change the facts surrounding the deaths of 3 people, so we get the context that the 3 people died on Nublar. Never Not So Clever at This says, in a sense, I see what you're saying. Taking Fallen Kingdom on its own would pull some of the expectations and lore back. Yeah. Now, like, you could do it with every Jurassic film. That's my point. Obviously, Battle at Big Rock is the only one you can't do this to because it's a short film and you have no context whatsoever for, like, how the dinosaurs are even alive. Because even in Lost World, do they mention in Lost World how the dinosaurs are cloned? So I know in Jurassic World they mentioned that the dinosaurs were cloned, and obviously in Fallen Kingdom we see them making their own dinosaurs, and they mention that they're clones in Fallen Kingdom. And yeah, well, Mills says they extracted the DNA from Amber, so there you go. You've got your explanation there. In the Lost World, do they ever mention anywhere? I'm going to leave this up to you guys in the chat, like, to try and answer this. Does anyone mention anywhere in the Lost World that the dinosaurs were clones? I don't know if they do, actually. Oh, Malcolm says you bred the animals lysine deficient. Bred is, yeah. We know he made them, but it's not really like. Even Jurassic Park 3 you can do this too. So Jurassic Park 3, what do we need to know the context for that story? We need to know that Alan Grant was someone who, I guess the only confusing bit of information in Jurassic Park 3, if you were to watch it on its own, is when Grant says, or the incident in San Diego, which I did not witness. Because you'd be sitting there thinking, what the hell was the incident in San Diego? But when they mention Jurassic Park, they say that it was on a different island. And, you know, Grant gives you the context. He says, you know, what John Hammond did at Jurassic Park was create genetically engineered theme park monsters. Nothing more, nothing less. So we know it was a theme park that he was trying to build. And then, like, later on we see the cloning facility where the raptor chases them. So you get the context there for Jurassic Park. You know, a nice little bit of lore. Backstory. Oh, and I guess, yeah, when he says, did you read Malcolm's book? So I guess, yeah, there's a couple of things that would be confusing. Jurassic Park 3 might... Funny enough, Jurassic Park 3 might be the biggest one for this. The one film you actually can't watch on its own without knowing more information. I mean, the whole, like, did you read Malcolm's book? It's like, you'd be going, who's Malcolm? But at the same time, it's not necessarily needed to understand the plot at all. But at the same time, it's like, that's, yeah. It's like the sauna one in Fallen Kingdom. You don't need to know sauna to understand what's going on in the plot, but that'd be the only name drop or bit of information that you'd be like, what are they talking about? You don't know they're clones, says Stupid Dinosaur, but Ludlow does say, we made it, we patented it, we own it. Yeah, that's true. Never Not So Clever at This says, what feels most rushed in Fallen Kingdom are its internal lore elements, not just the extended lore of the franchise. Yes, more Lockwood setup would be nice, but it isn't as pressing as building up Maisie. I get it with Lockwood. I mean, Mills basically does the exposition dump for Lockwood. You know, they extracted the first DNA right here, beneath our feet. And then we meet Lockwood. But Maisie's build-up, I thought, was done well. I don't think that was rushed at all. I think they set it up really early. They set it up straight away in the scene where Claire meets Lockwood. That's where it starts to unravel. Like, that's where they start putting the hints at Maisie's character and all that sort of stuff. It's all there. And then they drip it throughout the film. Okay, so let's. I think might be good enough to flatten this. So how far have we done so far? We've gone from that to that so far. Okay, so let's change the Never Not So Clever at This is ultimately my critique of Fallen Kingdom is I wanted more. So does that mean that Fallen Kingdom was that good? It was that tasty and delicious that you only wish that there was more of it? It was that succulent of a movie that you wish you had an entire feast of Fallen Kingdom? Boy, oh boy, oh boy. Lol, yes, Jack. Yeah. Okay, so I'm just going to pull up images. Hospital room. I just want to look at some images of a hospital room and see what kind of equipment and stuff they have laying around. That's too small an image. Let me go large. Give me a large. I want a large image. Give me a large image. That's not large. I want extra large. Give me an extra large image. Ooh, ooh, this one. Open image in new tab. That'll have to do. So I'm going to bring up an image like this. Look how tiny that image is. Okay, look at this bunch of wires. There's some bottles with like yellow liquid in it. Ugh. Defibrillator red. Oh, there's lots of tubes coming up. This with a monitor, a fan in the ceiling, box on the floor, buttons on the side of the bed. That's important. Okay, so let's do that. Let's start adding the detail. Let's make a new layer called detail. Add like a bottle of water on the side here. Yeah, I've never done the D-Box like 4D cinema experience, Titan of Serpents. He's just saying in the chat that he experienced Jurassic World Fallen Kingdom with like vibrating seats. Yeah, I've never done that. I mean, I've done it for other things like at theme parks and that and whatnot, but I've never done it for like an actual film. Okay, I've just looked. We've got 50 minutes before I have to leave today's stream. I didn't think I would get this one done on stream because it's like a very detailed frame, but I'll see how. Well, I might get this one frame done, but I'm probably not going to get any other frames done today in the time. Okay. Hey, no rush, Jack. But are there any updates on that teaser for Patreon? Oh yeah, sorry. Yeah, I was going to post that, but then I got sidetracked by a certain little lady who you'd need to talk to. I will definitely post that by tomorrow. For those of you that don't know, on my Patreon, people, I'm going to post a scene a 20-second clip from episode 4, just to wet the whistle. It's like one of the coolest things I've ever made. But for the patrons only. People who are patrons will get to see that. There's no sound or anything, it's just going to be like behind the scenes clip. Okay, so what? What other detail do we have on here? Just trying to think. Maybe I'll add some more like wireage. You should make a commentary tier on your Patreon. Yeah, well, once the entire series is done, I probably will be doing a commentary on it. Because I'm gonna stick all the episodes together to make the feature, like the film version. Trying to get that sort of wiry look to all this. Okay, so we've got the machine here for like breathing. Maybe if I'm going to construct it out of bits of the background, so let's get this. Actually, no, I don't need that because the breathing stuff is gonna be when I add the characters in. Okay. Just trying to wrap my head around what I want to do for this. So while I try and think, I'm just gonna tweak some of this. I know it's early days, but I would buy a physical posters and even a Blu-ray someday of DDEX's Phantom Limb. Oh, cheers, man. Yeah, I probably will get some posters out there. I'm planning on doing a 10,000 subscriber giveaway competition. First you're hearing about it here, because I'm approaching on 10,000 subscribers for the channel, and I've got some old Jurassic Park stuff that I was looking to give away. So I might do a competition as we approach 10,000 subscribers. I might do a competition to do with Dino-Defenders Extreme, like answering a question from that, and then I've got all these like items that I can give away. One of the items, which if it arrives okay and safely, which I'll explain now, will be a Jurassic Park 3 Pteranodon action figure. Not the little blue one that came with Eric Kirby. No, it's like the big orange action figure of the Jurassic Park 3 Pteranodon. That's one of the things I want to give away. But I'm just waiting for it to arrive safely. I've got like this Jurassic Park goodie bag of stuff. And maybe like a signed background from Dino-Defenders. $10K special, yeah. But Dino-Defenders episode 1 is coming up to 10,000 views, which is pretty cool. Got some bloody bandages in here. Okay, so they've got like this. Might put that above the bed, I don't know why. Just want to fill this space here. Looks pretty empty. More views, more traction. Yeah, thanks, man. Yeah, got a pretty big boost the other day when Clayton covered Camp Cretaceous, and then he started talking about Dino-Defenders in his episode. Whenever he talks about Dino-Defenders, I get a nice little uptick of people coming to view it, and then I get a lot of nice comments from people who are saying they're enjoying the series and that, which is always nice. It's funny because at the moment, like the payoff for the amount of work I put into this, some people would say is not like worth it, but at the same time, like, I just love doing this, so I don't particularly care at the moment. But once the series is finished, I'll be promoting it a lot because I want people to see it. How does your infant tier work on Patreon? Oh, what's that one again? I can't even remember what I put for that. Let me have a look. Oh, the infant tier is where you get you'll get a credit in each of the episodes you back. That's what Clayton did, and I will draw a personalised digital painting of a dinosaur. Whatever dinosaur you want, I'll paint a picture of it and send it to you. But it has to be the certain size, which is 750 pixels high and 1,200 pixels wide. So, like, I'll take time out of my day to paint you a dinosaur of your choice in the Dino-Defenders style. Trying to get Rick Raptor to check out Dino-Defenders Extreme. Rick Raptor? Who's Rick Raptor? That name rings a bell. Is it Rick Raptor 105, is it? Oh, he doesn't like Fallen Kingdom. Oh yeah, cool. Yeah, it is awesome that the you know, the new generation gets a Jurassic animated series. But I'll tell you this, it won't be as cool as Dino-Defenders. I mean, I feel like this is going to be the frame I'm going to be referencing a lot when I come to edit the other frames in this in this room. You kind of beat them to the punch on some plot elements, but I don't want to act like that's something to brag about. Well, it's difficult when you're dealing with this subject matter not to cross paths, but I can 100% guarantee you this, that episode 4 of Dino-Defenders Extreme is going to be the one that 100% sets it apart. Like, episode 3 of Dino-Defenders has done stuff which, in hindsight, once you get the context from the other episodes, you'll be like, oh, I didn't even know that this is how different it was going to be. Like, because I really want people to understand that. Like, this series is not Jurassic Park. It's going in a completely different direction. It might have similar elements. It might appear to be similar, but it is it's very different. Oh, half an hour left and then I'm going to have to shoot. Oh dear, oh dear, oh dear. So basically all I'm trying to do is get this hospital room to look like it's a working environment. Like it actually looks like it's functional. It doesn't have to look logical. It's like I'm taking the approach that Ridley Scott and crew did with Alien, when they were like, we just want this ship to look like it's functional, like it looks like it's actually a working thing. But if you were to really like try and work out how it works, you'd be like, wait, how does this work? Slayer Sam says, so Hammond cloned male dinosaurs on Sauna. Do you think it was intended to save money by letting them breed? Well, for one, it's one thing's for certain, they definitely did it for research. You know, what if the first dinosaur they ever cloned was male? Because that's the thing, when you extract DNA and you fill in the gaps, you know, you're going to clone it. You don't know what you've got until you clone it, especially in the first ever one. Yo, Michael says, hi there, how you doing? I've just had a great idea, Jurassic Park 3000. In the year 3000, race of alien clone Alan Grant's. Aliens clone Alan Grant to fight cyber-enhanced dinosaurs, something like Turok. Quality schlock. Hey, I'd watch it. Yeah, the Bull T-Rex could be one of the first Slayer Sam. Yes, Big Shark, it is a shame that we won't get an Alien or Predator film again. Well, Ridley Scott talked about his Alien recently. Loosely, let's say. He loosely talked about it. But I'm very worried about the Alien franchise, which is such a shame. Why does Disney have to own it? All I want is the conclusion to David's story. Like, I want to know what happens to David so badly. Now Disney owns it and we're not going to see shit. Well, we're going to see shit, but we're not going to see the shit that I want, I don't think. I have very low expectations. They say that Ridley Scott is currently working on Alien 7, says Shinobi. Yeah, he better be. And it's like, I really hope that he concludes the David story. I don't even care how. Like, even if it's like off screen, I don't care at this point. I just want to know what happened to David. Actually, it'd be a real shame if it was off screen, but Josh Putman says Disney is incapable of making anything for adults. Yes and no, because Disney owned the company who made films like Pulp Fiction and that. So Disney were pumping money into making films like Pulp Fiction and Reservoir Dogs and basically all of Quentin Tarantino's films. So in some ways you're right, in other ways I don't know, they were kind of making adult films. They had like their own company that was solely for making adult films. It's just no one really knew that unless you were in the know. Current Disney, yeah, sorry Josh, yeah, you're right, yeah, current Disney. Now I don't know if actually these bottles should be desaturated, because I don't know if I want to make this room look less inviting and more drab. Excuse me. Let's just play around with the colours for a second. No. Okay. Michael says, my heart is on the left, trust me, but Disney is so up there at fake progressive corporate asses they can't understand what people want. Yeah, I agree to that to some extent. The thing is, like, no one, like, Disney, it wasn't that long ago that Disney was making really quality stuff, in my opinion. Like, the Tron Legacy, John Carter, The Lone Ranger, those 3 movies, they're so good. All 3 of those films are really well made. They're really interesting. That's their live action films. And then no one liked them, so then Disney went, okay, we're gonna remake our live action films, because Cinderella did really well. Was it Cinderella? Which was the first one they did? I can't remember now. And so now that's all we get, live action wise, is remakes of their already films. Yeah, John Carter was amazing. I liked Tomorrowland. Tomorrowland is like the one that I think, you know, is a bit wishy-washy in its messages and that, but I actually do like that film a lot. So maybe I'll put that up there as well. Maybe Tomorrowland was the last one. A live action Rescuers Down Under. No way. Leave it. Leave it alone. Live action Jungle Book. That was it. I don't think they'll do a live action Treasure Planet. Okay, I think if I add, I'm going to add a little plug over on the wall here. I was just trying to remember what their first live action. Well, that's the Big Shark 9000 says Tron Legacy deserved a sequel. Well, that's the thing. It's like the good thing about Tron Legacy, John Carter and the Lone Ranger, and Tomorrowland is you don't need a sequel. Like they all have stories that finish. Obviously, I would have welcomed a sequel, but I'm happy, even though those films unfortunately didn't turn enough people's heads for Disney to be like, oh, we're onto something here. You know, at least their stories are like not open. You know, left. They didn't leave us wanting, per se, in terms of like where the story should go. I think the biggest tragedy of those three is John Carter, because Andrew Stanton had an entire trilogy planned, and then all of that got canned. I remember on Twitter he was releasing the names of the trilogy, and it was like, oh man, if only we got that. Okay, what are we looking at? I'm gonna just look up royalty free. Oh, pardon me. The first Alice in Wonderland, yeah, that's it. And that film was rubbish, and it made a F ton of money. And then they were like, okay, we're on to a winner here. And then that's when the needle went, hello Cretaceous, how you doing? That's when the needle went, hey, we need to start remaking our animated cartoons rather than you know, Tron Legacy, Tron Legacy is a sequel to an 80s movie. So I'm not saying these are original films, but Tron Legacy is a sequel to an 80s film. John Carter is based on a book, and it took 100 years for John Carter to get a film made. So, you know, 100 years, and also that book was the thing that inspired Star Wars and everything. But yeah, based on a book. Lone Ranger is based on a TV show, and Tomorrowland is based on a theme park ride. Now, I know these aren't like original things necessarily, but they're much better than, you know, they're original in terms of the film. We hadn't seen those films before. Whereas like these live action remakes of their animated cartoons, like all the animated cartoons are better. Maleficent is the first Maleficent, because the second one's dreadful. The first Maleficent is probably the only one that was done well, because it wasn't telling the same story. It was telling its own story, just with the same characters and the same sort of the same plot was happening, but we saw it from a different angle and everything. So it was like a different story essentially. And that one I thought was good. If they'd done that for all of them, that would have been quite interesting. But I don't forgive them for not pursuing things like what they were doing with Tron and doing that more, that sort of thing more. Oz the Great and the Powerful was alright, but, you know. Sorry, I'm just looking up something. Oh, I'll look this up later. Okay. No, I haven't seen Exo Squad, Michael. Or Mikkel, should I say? Mikkel? Is this at the Petri dish or somewhere in the world like a flashback? I explained at the start of the stream. Let me show you. So you've got this frame here from episode 1 where the door opens onto Rose's... I mean, look at the detail on this. This does not look as good as later episodes. But it opens up on Rose's room here, and she's sat here with the leopard seal hybrid behind her. You know, see it like that. And it's this room here, so it's her private quarters off to the side here. So that door is just off to the side here, off that way. That door is over there. I still have that old school T-Rex in the room, says Phantom Limb. I don't know if you know this, but that's actually a picture of a photo manipulated picture of my first ever dinosaur toy, which I've still got. Like, I took a photo of it and put it in the episode. So the first ever dinosaur toy I owned, and I wanted it to be like this big marble statue that's just sat in her room. Looks like Vickers' private room in Prometheus. Any vodka around, says Mikkel. That is exactly what it was inspired by. Because this show is basically completely inspired by everything that I love in TV and media and all that sort of stuff. Prometheus had such wonderful set design. Yeah, I mean, I was taken by it. Ooh, okay, choices. Okay, we've got 10 minutes till I have to finish the stream, guys. So I'll see what I can do in the last 10 minutes. I do want to say thank you everyone for turning up today. It's been nice to have a lively bunch in the chat today. Keep me on my toes. Just gonna get the lighting right now. I love Alien 3 too, never not so clever at this. I love the assembly cut a lot. Like, it might even be my favourite Alien film. Looks super legit though, great work done for today's stream. Thank you. So this layer we're going to call light. Just going to I wonder if I can get this to work. This is an experiment, by the way, what I'm just doing right now. I don't know if this is going to be how I want this to be. I'm just sort of testing this. Gary Pfeiffer says, if you wanted to play one Iron Maiden song in the background, what would it be and in what scene? Fear of the Dark. And it would be when they're looking down the hole of the Megaraptor. Fear of the dark. Sing it! Fear of the dark. I have a constant fear that something's always near. Okay, that adds a little something to the lighting there. Does mean though that I need to change the lighting of this cupboard. Just to beef it up a little bit. Disney can't destroy Alien because Ridley Scott already did it in Covenant. says Shinobi Free. Boo, hiss. No, he didn't. He didn't destroy Alien. He made Alien great again. Okay, 5 minutes. I'm looking because I want this picture up here. In the original thing here, it says greenhouse. It was going to be like this, almost like botanical garden you can see outside, which is like actually lit with artificial light. But now I'm thinking actually I want it to be a sort of oil painting of some description, but I actually want it to be like a real oil painting. So I'm kind of looking if there's any like royalty-free oil paintings. Let's have a look. Maybe I'll do this off stream because I've now basically got to finish the stream. So yeah, okay. Let me just go over it quickly. Add the light down. That's a lot of work for this room, and I've got to make sure I make. Let me just see. Ugh, no, I don't want it to be like that. That's gross. Trying to get some of the detail to pop. Obviously the monitors will be showing stuff, so yeah, okay, I'm satisfied with that for today. Let's see what you guys are saying. Talking about Alien Free. Not gonna lie, that hospital room looks cozy. Yeah, cozy hospital room. So we went from that to that in today's stream, which is not bad, is it? Yeah, and I'll finish this off stream. But anyway, guys, thank you so much for coming along. Please, if you can, go to the Patreon, link down here, and support the series if you can. If not, make sure that you send people a link to the playlist of the series and spread the word. Because episode 1's nearly at 10,000 views, and I've just seen something I want to just tweak quickly. Sorry, I've just seen something I want to tweak. Yeah, make sure to spread the word on Dino-Defenders Extreme. I really think that, you know, in this day and age, especially with this bloody virus and that, it's something that I think people on YouTube, like, I don't see anyone else doing this kind of thing. So I like to, at the moment, you know, I like to think that this is quite unique and I think there's an audience out there for this kind of content. I know you guys are here already, but I think we can get more. We can get more people involved, and grow this Dino-Defenders family. And I'll say this much, mainly because there we go. What? Oh, actually, wait. Why is that like that? That should be darker. What are we doing here, folks? What are we doing? That should be darker. Yeah, like that. Okay. Because I realised that with Dino-Defenders, I basically am getting more and more geared up towards... I bought this book, so I'm getting geared up towards making potentially something else after Dino-Defenders. But I bought this book called The Animator's Survival Kit. It's like this huge, thick book all about how to do fully animated characters and stuff. It's by one of the guys who worked on Who Framed Roger Rabbit. And if Dino-Defenders becomes like a big success, like if it becomes something that I could potentially do as a job, I could do a sequel to Dino-Defenders that I think basically it's like my life's work summed up into one. And I don't want to reveal what it is, but it's like take Dino-Defenders and make it ridiculously big. I'd want to make it like a fully animated show with voice actors, with music, whatever this project is I'm talking about. But I don't know if I want to do that unless people get on board with Dino-Defenders and stuff. So if you can, out there, folks, spread the word about this. Get people interested. Convince me that I should do this next thing afterwards. And yes, it is dinosaur related. Obviously, if it would be like a quasi sequel to Dino-Defenders, I don't know if it would be a sequel, but it definitely would push the limits. Dino-Defenders Extremer. But yeah, anyway, I don't see people doing stuff like this online. On YouTube, so I just think this is something unique that I think more people would like to see. So spread the word, spread the link to the Patreon. Big Shark 9000, thank you for the $1 super chat again. Absolutely amazing that you guys tip me like that. That's just too kind. And yeah, I will see you guys next Tuesday at 12 o'clock UK time. See you there.